Hi, Dawn here from Enzo's, where it's not about the dog.
If you're new with us, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, we answer your questions. I have a great question today. I have to put my glasses on to read it. Why is my dog good with other dogs off leash, but when he's on a leash, he's not good with other dogs?
That's a great question, Karen. We get this a lot. We have a lot of dogs. We have a lot of reactive dogs who come into our program and who I talk to. And they'll say, I take my dog.
It's kind of our specialty.
It is. I take my dogs to dog parks and they're great. I take my dogs to my friends. They're great as long as they're off leash. But on leash, they're horrible. I have to make sure when I get to the dog park to take them off the leash before we go in, things like that. And my number one reason, the thing that I see all the time and time again, is that the human has conditioned the dog that the pressure on the leash we condition them, pressure has meaning, right? So if every time you see a dog, you wrap that leash around your hand and you tense up because you're waiting for your dog to explode on the end of the leash, then you actually taught your dog to explode when they see another dog because you added pressure to the leash at the wrong time. So pressure has meaning. Again, we say it all the time, pressure on, there's a problem, or there's something that needs to be done. Pressure off, good job, you did it. So you see a dog, you add pressure to the leash, you have just taught your dog to react to something because now your dog's looking around going, oh, what should I be worried about? Because you're worried, mom, dad. Oh, there's a dog over there. That's clearly what I should be worried about, right? That's the number one thing, reason that I see.
We're feeding, the way I explain it to people is you're feeding information down that leash to your dog.
Yeah.
And if you are concerned or tense or worried, you feed that information down the leash to the dog, and they feel it. They definitely feel it, right? That it's one of the reasons we have dogs is because they connect to us so well, right? So and let me also say, Dawn used the word reactive, okay? So I also see many people who say, my dog started off happy to go see other dogs and then became aggressive. And all that is reactivity is happy, right? That dog that's lunging at the end of the leash
because they want to see,
because they want to get to the other dog to play with them, is also reactive. Okay. And the frustration and the lack of follow through on our part, or communication, I guess I shouldn't call it follow through, expectations. What is my expectation of my dog when he sees another dog?
Yeah.
What do I want that to look like?
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think with that leash pressure, it adds so much confusion for the dog that then they're deciding what to do. And they're either barking and lunging to get at that dog for whatever reason. The same dog who they want to play with, they're on a leash, we're adding pressure, right? Which is why we want to teach our dogs how to walk in a heel and how to walk nicely on a loose leash and next to us. So
we talked about the information we're feeding them. Let's talk a little bit about that confusion. How do I get rid of that confusion, Dawn?
First, you have to teach them what pressure means. What does the pressure on the leash mean? It has to have meaning somehow, you guys. You can't just strap a leash on your dog. I don't care what the tool is. If you have a harness, if you have a slip lead, if you have a prong, if you have
e-collar.
It doesn't matter what it is. It matters that there's pressure, and your pressure is information. What is the information? You have to name it. You have to give it information. I don't mean verbally name it. I mean name it by your actions. So if pressure goes on a leash, and there's pressure, when it comes off the leash, what's happening, right?
Right. So I either have to come into heel if you're applying pressure. I have to sit if you're applying pressure.
Yeah. It has to do whatever. So directional pressure, that's what it means. So to take the confusion away from the leash, give meaning to it. Give meaning. Start with meaning. So teach your dog to follow you and to yield and to follow you as you're walking versus your dog out in front. This is one of the reasons I don't let my dogs walk out in front with a tight leash, because whatever they see, right? If I go, oh no, don't do that. How many times do you see people avoiding? I just watched a video last night of a gal teaching a reactive dog to avoid things, right? I don't want to avoid things. I first want to teach you what I want you to do. So I want you to walk nicely on a leash next to me, right? You do not get to get adrenalized to go to the dog park and see your friends. You can go get that adrenaline out when you are playing with your friends. But right now we're walking nicely on a leash. So teaching that is step one. Like, going to take the confusion away.
So, Dawn, why is this a perpetuating problem? Tell everybody what's happening in my brain when I bark or when I lunge or when I feel that pressure.
It's adrenalized. You're becoming adrenalized, right? So
and it feels good.
It feels really good. Because why does it feel good, you guys? Because we're going to go back to our anatomy classes that we took a long time ago. Because adrenaline releases dopamine, and dopamine is a feel-good drug, right? If it feels good, even though I'm going to go bite you, it feels good, right? It is taught. I'm taught that, oh my gosh, I'm going to get to something. I got to it. Whew. Release of the adrenaline, which releases that dopamine.
It's why oftentimes when they get there, like you said, off the leash, they're fine. When they get there, it's no big deal.
Yeah.
You know,
absolutely.
I often see dogs pulling to get to other dogs, and then when they get there, they don't even.
Yeah, they just go off in different direction.
Yeah.
But for us as humans, it's scary when we see our dogs acting that way. So we get nervous. We get anxious. That nervousness and anxiousness goes through the leash. What do our dogs do? They want to protect us. They're like, oh, you're nervous and anxious? It's okay, Mom. Dad, go sit down. I got this. Whatever this might be, right? And if you're nervous and I see a dog in front of me, then you clearly must be nervous about that dog coming towards us. So I'm going to take care of it. You sit down, I'll take care of it.
Yeah, we've weirdly made this vicious circle. He got adrenalized. We got nervous.
Yep.
He got protective. So it's like this huge circle that we've created.
So again, it has to start with us, right? Same thing happens with those dogs who do like other dogs, right? It can go either way. I know every time we go to this dog park, we get in the car, my mom does this, we go this way, blah, blah, blah. So now I'm adrenalized just to get out of the car and to get to those other dogs. So for me, what I want to say is if you have that dog, you can just practice on days you're not going to go to the dog park, going to the dog park. You go there and you drive around, you get out of the car and you walk around, and the end is not playing with other dogs. You have to change the end. You have to change the reward. The reward is, hey, we're just going to go on a walk.
Yep.
And then we're going to get back in the car and go home. Like, why is that not enough, you guys? I never once took my dog Lucky growing up to a dog park. They didn't even have them.
They didn't even have
Which
them.
is really funny. I didn't even have a leash for my dog. We had a rope because he just followed us everywhere, right? I lived in the country. We just followed us. Sophie's here.
Oh, Sophie.
So we're taking that confusion away and we're going to create new ways. And most of the people who we do end up working with, like, they realize by the end of it, they're like, oh, I will say to you, breathe, relax.
Yeah. We work a lot with the people on this.
One of my clients now, year later, we trained her dog, and her homework when she was probably 3 months into our program after the board and train, the dog was fabulous, still is. But her homework was go someplace, any place, put your dog in the car and go there with him. And then get him out of the car, walk around the car with your dog, put him back in and go home. Because she was scared to handle her dog in any kind of public setting. So that was literally her homework. And now she can walk through a crowd of 50 dogs, 100 dogs, doesn't matter. You can go to a restaurant. She is so much more confident. So we have to build our confidence to stop this leash reactivity. So the original question was, why is my dog good with other dogs when off leash, but not on leash? So number one, we got to teach pressure on the leash. Number two, we got to take away that confusion and create better information for that dog. And then the last thing, and we talked about this, we didn't give it a name though, was impulse control. We have to teach that dog a different impulse control. So that adrenaline that's coming out, what to do with it at the end, so that as the dopamine comes out, it's the time we want it.
Yep.
Okay. So thanks for listening, you guys. Remember, it's not about the dog.